And good morning. I am clean shaven and hopefully better color. I'll explain that in a moment. It's Friday. You're here. I'm here. Let's get it on for another edition of Bubble Friday. And good morning. Happy Friday to you. It is Friday, the 4th of December, which means 21 days till Christmas. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and I am trying to get my first good bubbles for the morning. And apologies for a whole lot of crazy going on. We are semi upgrading and semi downgrading. I have a very, very busy day. I always say that every day, but I literally have to be on a call training starting at 9 o'clock. So I've got a very short amount of time to kind of get a message out today. So I just want to make sure I did get a message out today. For those folks who survived the week and survived the survival coming back from Thanksgiving, which is a lot of survival in a lot of cases, congratulations. Thanks for being here. I'm not doing very well in the bubbles today. Now, Bubble Friday is a way to sort of commemorate, in some cases commiserate, getting past a full week of something. And a full week of work, full week of people, full week of whatever, preparing yourself for a weekend. It was something created at a past job where we would actually gather outside and blow bubbles and act like little kids to kind of blow off steam and celebrate on Fridays. Now it's basically more or less just sort of a metaphorical thing where you blow the bubbles to blow away the stress, blow away the strife, blow away all the kind of things that got in the way throughout the week. If you don't want to actually blow bubbles, you can, of course, inhale bubbles, or I guess you don't inhale them. Imbibe bubbles, drinking bubbles. Think carbonated things that are a bit more, not so much about carbonation, and that we suggest you do as long as you are, of legal age and of good responsibility. Thank you so much for that. That's all good for there. Otherwise, you can just inhale and exhale and kind of blow the stress of the week away. We'll see if I need to actually change that up going on. It's not like this thing is actually going to extra famous like I thought at some point it would, but that's because I overthink a lot of things on those cases. As you see in the bottom part there, my name is Jay Cleveland Payne, or at Jay Cleveland Payne via the Twitter-ish, and I am here to kind of get you into your Friday, congratulate you for making it through the week. Congratulations, you made it through the week, and just sort of give a little kind of chit-chatter of what's going on, and a little bit of hopefully positive thought, or if not positive thought, I like it to be at least thought-provoking things to kind of get you into the end of the week go forward. Now, what I was saying about the picture, what I've actually done, sort of inside baseball, is the last couple of weeks I've had a more professional microphone here, and I've had earbuds in so I can hear myself talking because I'm used to being on the radio or doing things where you do things in those sort of tandems, and so they help out a lot. This week, like I said, I'm in a rush to get things done, so I didn't have time to set that up. It takes up a lot of space on my desk, so I didn't do that. Back to the standard. I have an upgraded mic on the desk, so it's a little bit better, but I can't hear myself go back and forth, which helps out a lot. The camera, although, it's actually a older camera, but it's an upgraded camera with newer software, running into the newer software. So I was able to get a camera that gives a more crisp and better color picture, and I didn't realize just how gray I looked, and it wasn't just a beard thing with this new camera. Also, November's over, so No Shade November is over. I am clean shaven. I am getting used to not wearing the glasses. I cut my hair. And so this is a look that, unless I get really, really lazy, which happens, you'll see a lot more of. So if you like this, thank you. If you like the beard, talk to Christina with a K, and you guys can hash it out. She basically said 3 days into November that the beard was going to be dead by December, and it is. So this is how I'm going forward, as long as she has full say, and she pretty much always has full say. So to get very quickly into the message that I have for today, and apologies because I got like 3 cameras up here because I was testing them, and so I make sure I'm looking at the right one. The message in the title is with support from people like you. And that comes more or less directly from what we're seeing right now, what you may be seeing right now. Because if you don't check out public television very often, you probably know this from just past experience, but public television is literally public television. It belongs to the people of the states that own it. Arkansas has rebranded their public television, Arkansas Public Television, opposed to AETV, Arkansas Educational TV. I think that's more basically a kind of a toss around for name purposes. There are some technical and business implications there as well. But right now is one of those times where they're having pledge drives, and it seems like they're having more and more of them. At least it seems like when I'm paying attention to them. But right now is a time where they're having pledge drives. Back when I was doing radio and I was managing the Christian teaching stations, all the Christian teaching shows, all the pastors, all the preacher shows essentially have a pledge for donations, a pledge for contributions for the show, but they always ramp them up at this time of year, Christmas time. The needs at this time of year are usually bigger because there's always people in need for Christmas, and you want people to have some semblance of hope in times like these. And also the end of the year, so they're trying to get things in the books and take care of actual business stuff as well. But it's just a time where people start asking for stuff, in some cases seemingly begging for stuff at Christmas time. And you hear the phrase, and viewers like you, and people like you, and things like that, in kind of a innocuous way. But it's essentially telling the people like you that it's you people like you, that keep things going. I compare this to, I think it's been 3 years ago or so, where there was a very popular restaurant here in Little Rock called the Dixie Cafe. It was very popular because everybody remembers eating there at some point in time in their lifetime because it's been around for a while. The problem is they went out of business because they actually weren't very popular. People remember experiences at Dixie Cafe. People remember going as kids and not liking the food. People remember the last time they went and being disappointed. But people just remember them always being around until they weren't. And so no one really talked much about the Dixie Cafe until they actually disappeared. And there was about a month of back and forth of, talking about the Dixie Cafe. Because people like you did not support the Dixie Cafe, the Dixie Cafe is no longer in existence. Now, some of the stores sort of rebranded, and some people bought the buildings and basically served the same sort of things, but did not live under the corporate branding. It was like a 3 or 4 state franchisee of restaurants that served, I'll say, home style foods, not so much southern style, home style foods, and fried chicken and cornbread and greens and stuff like that. Pork chops, great stuff like that. So the food that they serve is stuff that people would like to eat, but pretty much the standard social media complaints about it was they weren't very good, and so people hadn't been there in a while, which is why no one went there. The reason why all the ministries and all the preachers and all the teachers around this time specifically, and in general just all year long, are asking for your contributions, your donations. The reason why you go to church every single week and there's an offering is because people like you make these things go. And there's plenty of people with plenty of complaints, and I have my own complaints as my own, on how churches and faith groups and things like that are basically always asking for money. And the reason why is they kind of always need money. Things don't operate without resources. Resources are essential. This thing right here, what am I doing right here? I'm talking on a computer. That takes power. The computer had to be built. The camera had to be on. There has to be internet service going through here. And all this is done through the resources that, because I'm doing it at my office place of work, it just happens to be the resources that work through for what makes the school work. Students here in college, and enough students here to make enough staff here to have a need. There's so many things going on that they needed to hire me on to manage some of those things. That's how I got a chance to be here. Now, take away the fact that I'm sitting in my office at work doing this before I go do some assignments, and just assume I'm back at home when I wasn't working. in front of my living room doing it from there. Same thing applies. I've got to pay the light bill to have power on in the house. Heat because it's cold this time of year. Internet access because my work is done through the internet, through the magical of the wires and whatnot. The camera, all that stuff. Those are resources that have to be paid for what essentially is a freebie. If you're watching this on Facebook, you don't pay for Facebook, but there are various different ways that Facebook makes money to allow all the effort behind there to make it work out, including ads, advertising. Watch it on YouTube. Same different thing. YouTube is essentially free, although you can pay for YouTube. I actually pay for YouTube so I don't have to see ads. But in a sense, if you're not paying for YouTube, you probably saw an ad before this came on. An ad will probably pop up in the middle of it if you're not watching it live, because there's a lot of things going on there in a lot of ways that they need to keep up their activity there. And of course, back to PBS and the viewers like you, people like you, the pledge drives. PBS is literally owned by the people. They do get some money from the government because it's meant to be a last minute, really a public radio station, public broadcasting as a way for disseminating information out to the nation should emergency arise. That's why there's so many little PBSs in so many different places that are local, so that in case a massive wipeout were to happen and we lost some sort of lost what we have now as national broadcast ability, the local places can keep going. And so the local places, they need you. There's money that puts the programming on. There's money that helps some of the big infrastructure going on. But they need you because they have to manage the local place and pay the local guys to show up and deal with stuff and tweak on with wrenches and come out in the rain and the sun and the ice and the snow and deal with things like that. So it's not for commercial. They literally don't pay. People literally don't pay for commercials, but people pledge different amounts of money, and based on where you are, your station in life, you may be more willing to pledge more, for instance, down payment. It may mean more in those senses. So, in those cases, it may mean more than that, and you may want to give up more of your personal money to a place like PBS because it means more to things. Now, I've had discussions and some not quite knockdown dragouts, but just talk about the use of PBS in some cases because, like I say, I will pay for a commercial service for news and entertainment, and there are some people who gladly pay money to PBS for their news coverage, which is very good, and they're mostly children's type stuff. Watching the children's show on. It's been a while since Johanna has been on YouTube and Unicorn. But watching all the things they had on there while she was there. Although she didn't like Jet for some reason, but we watched a lot of Clifford. We watched Sesame Street, which just moved off PBS and is sort of back thanks to HBO buying it. Some of the many things they had on there. Nature Cat. She loves some Nature Cat. She loved Nature Cat. Things like that helped fill the gaps when we weren't paying for things like Pound Puppies and My Little Pony, which were made as commercials, made to sell stuff, not to teach folks necessarily. So what's the actual message that is coming down today? It's a very simple message, and it's not, me saying buy my stuff, watch my stuff, read my stuff, although at the bottom of the crawl right now you'll see a link to read my stuff at jclevelandpayne.net and /podcast to hear some of the stuff I have going on. You listening, watching, reading those things help keep this thing going. But it is a reminder that there are people right now in a time of need, and it is people like you. People like you that help make things go. COVID-19 has basically did a number on the world. In all of us. There's no person not affected by it because we all have to basically walk around looking like bandits all the time because of safety, public safety. So there's no one who's not affected by this virus. The disease, I mean, it's complicated how it works. No one's who's not affected by the virus. It has affected people financially, mentally, just in general. We just passed a Thanksgiving where people were asked to not go see anybody, and we're having Christmases where people are asked to not go see anybody. I'm spending Christmas at my parents', but essentially they say right now the plan is, here is your room. You will stay in your room for the duration of the Christmas day. Oh, by the way, your daughter has her own room as well, so she will stay in her room. I will stay in my room. My niece and nephew will stay in their rooms. My parents will stay in their rooms, and we will have dinner outside and I guess talk on chat or something like that. I don't know. But people like you can help people out there who are going to really need your help. There are plenty of people out there who need your help. There are people out there who actually want your help but don't know how to articulate it, how to put it out there, how to not be ashamed to go for help. Something I heard on the news last night particularly, really it kind of stuck out, was the fact that we are comparing now to the pandemic, Spanish flu back in 1918, and some things going on there. And there's a lot of comparisons going on, but a lot of differences based on time, technology, and things like that. But as one older journalist brought up, this is a situation where people are in bread lines, literally in bread lines, as if this were the Depression. It's not quite Depression bad, but people are in lines waiting for food, waiting to be fed, because jobs aren't there, because opportunities aren't there, because things aren't there. And there's a lot of fatigue going on right now, a lot of frustration going on. I've got a brand new set of issues personally that I've got to find a way to manage come January, because life and pandemic. And I don't know how I'm going to manage those. I have an idea what I'm going to do, but none of them make any total sense at all. But things will have to be done. So those are things that I will, do it on my own. That's not for here. But there are going to be plenty of people out there who are in need, and you may be one of them. But even if you have very little, what little you have, what massive you have, can actually help out those who have even less. So, I am encouraging people like you to support the people out there who are in a little bit of need. Some cases, a lot of need. I'm not just saying write fat checks. That's especially not what I'm saying. Be aware. The biggest thing you need to do is be aware of the people around you and what's going on. And sometimes doing something for someone is literally not doing something for or to someone. Just kind of getting out of their way and letting them go on may be what needs to happen. You may have some people in your life that are ready to take a chance, blossom in some sense, do some whatever, and you're kind of holding them back. This is where people like you need to make sure they know they have permission to do their thing, go on their own, take a chance, and that you will back them up. You will not hold them back. There may be people who are afraid to take any chance right now because they feel like stepping out on any sort of faith is ridiculous. There's a lot of people talking about faith right now, a lot of people not so big on it. People like you, neither mind people out there who are a little lacking in faith. And I'm one of those people in those regards, that there is a better. There was a worse and there is a better. And that everyone is working towards the better. Literally everyone is working towards the better. It may not be obvious and it may not be on the time schedule that you have planned, but there is a lesson in every single piece of pain. My cousin wrote a great book on this, about losing her father, and she was a daddy's girl, and it was a really, really, really quick thing. It's like we found out he was sick, and then he wasn't there. It was that devastating. So, and she wrote about how she had to progress through all of that pain quickly so she can be there to support her mother and her sister, and how she grew from that. Her name is Monifa Robinson Groover, so look it up. I can't think of the name of the book right now, but it's Through the Pain. It's like processing through the pain. I'll have to pull it up later and put it in the comments. But check out that book and how she worked through all that stuff. But it's essentially the same thing I'm saying here. You may not think you have a lot, but you've got a lot more than you think. I'm not asking for you to write me a check. I am asking you to show some support. One of the things that gets on me and bothers me now is I'm producing a lot of stuff, but not seeing a lot of feedback per se. So you always get the feeling that, is this worth it? And the reason why I keep producing more stuff and keep trying to push out there is that I can't tell other people that the work they're doing is worth it if I'm not doing the work, even if I'm not so sure the work is worth it. So sometimes my lack of faith, but my continued stubbornness, makes me keep doing things that sometimes don't seem like it's worth it. And the irony about that is it's usually worth it more than you think. The problem is getting responses is really hard. So this Christmas season, in a time where there are people who need protection, if you have a way to offer up some sort of protection, please offer it up. If it's monetary for people who literally need the money, offer a little bit up. If it's food security, if you have access to food, access to things, make an extra plate when you're doing your holiday gatherings. Buy a couple extra cans of stuff to hand to folks who are in need. Make sure they know you're not offering handouts. You're offering support, because we're all humans. No one is lesser. We are all equal. And it's just a matter of someone is not doing so great right now, we're lifting up our shoulders so they can lean on it, because at some point in time, we're going to need a couple shoulders out there. And it doesn't have to be the same shoulder. It's not a quid pro quo. It's not, I helped you out, so you got to help me out. It's, I'm helping you out because you need it. Because in a time when I'll be in need, someone out there will be more than willing to help out. People like you have to contribute. If you have a favorite pastor or a church, by all means, put a little bit in the offering plate. They'll appreciate it. If you are a fan of public television and radio, you're hearing the pledge drives right now. They're getting in the way of whatever actual content you actually want to hear. And so, as I also heard someone talk in a on radio, on a public radio thing the other day, he gladly pays for his yearly contribution for public radio so that he can complain about the pledge drives. A lot like voting. If you didn't vote, I don't care what you think about the other, about who's in charge, who's not in charge, because you didn't put your name in, you didn't put your point in the process, whether the guy won or lost. So if you're not ponying up the money, don't complain. There's a saying, I'm getting confused with the rest. So there's a saying that basically, like, the person who drives picks the music, or the person who person who pays the bill picks the station or something. Basically, the person who's actually footing the bill essentially gets a chance to put in the input. So if you don't like public radio or public television, that's fine. But if you listen to it and you don't contribute to it in any sense, you can't complain about them asking for money, because obviously you're not supporting them. And the most important thing for people like you to remember is that there are people like me who are doing creative things. And there's a lot of things for creative people and the larger big money-making industry itself that's causing static. Broadway's been closed since March. There are no shows going on, so there are people out there who are on smaller venues who don't know when they'll get their next job again, as opposed to some larger venues who are basically watching their money. They had money, but watching it go out the door. maybe the person you know that is creative is not doing it necessarily for money or for fame, for fortune, but they're doing it because creative people have to do it. It keeps them sane. I'm a writer because I write stuff all the time, because otherwise my brain gets clogged up. I am a professional writer because every so often people pay me money for those things, but that's beside the point. Whether I get paid for something or not, my creativity means I have to write something. I have to speak into the microphone. I have to talk into this camera, although I'm hating cameras. Support your local creative as best as possible. And if it's something as just simple, silly as giving them a call and asking about their latest project, that helps out a lot. You see it in the crawl below here. You can check out my website and podcast. I'm also writing every day. I'm also going to click over to where you can toss a couple bucks at me if you want to. But it's not for me particularly. But there's a lot of people out there who do a lot of creative things out there that are all over the place. And sometimes they're hard to understand, and sometimes you don't understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they do. So, and of course, people who are in need are in need. If you have a little bit, offer it up. Do not go so far out. I mean, it's not like you have to swim out past the level of safety to save a person. But do what you can. Reach out a hand. Grab as many as you can. Take them and get them going as far as long as you can. Because there are people out there who are more than willing to help you out whenever you'll be in a similar position. And there's a lot of people out there right now losing hope, seemingly lacking situations of dignity, a lot of faith out there. So that's it. I've got to get back to actual work a lot faster than normal. I've got a long day of training stuff, and a lot of things get knocked down the first time. I just want to make sure that I actually got this done today, because I want to keep my promises, commitments, and streaks going on. Like I said, this is one of those things that, partially because of the platform, partially because of timing, partially because of the fact that I'm not all that famous, I don't really know the actual impact. I don't really know who I'm reaching, and I don't really know how much of it actually matters unless you tell me. So feel free to tell me. Comment in the comments for however you're seeing this. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. For some reason, the service I use promises the fact I should see all the comments, and I see few of the comments. So I'll check them out on the back end. Thank everybody who popped in live. If you watch this on the replay, because plenty of people have things to do at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, like being at work, so they can get to Bubble Friday and get a chance to relax and blow bubbles. Let me know in the comments that you popped in and what you said and what you liked, what you didn't like, and I will work to improve it. And as I said, of course, it's people like you that make the world happen. So people like you need to make sure you're helping out other people who need you right now. It's the Christmas season. It's the holiday season. It's life season. It's also 21 days till Christmas. Don't forget. All right, I'm done for the day. Thank you so much. Thank you for putting up with this thing. Oh, by the way, congratulations. Yes, congratulations, because guess what happened on this Bubble Friday or future day as this popped up? You woke up. You woke up. You sat up. You opened up some sort of electronic device and you watched a video. So if you were able to do that, you have life, you have your mental faculties, you have physical ability to move. Get out there and do something pretty awesome. You'd be surprised how little effort you have to put into something to turn into awesome. You being there, pretty awesome. We'll do this again next week, assuming we have a next week. Like I say, you never know. We survived the election, so maybe it was just weeks until the world ends. Maybe the world's actually ending next week. But assuming it doesn't, I'm going to do my best to be here next Friday to celebrate with more bubbles, more chit chat, and more discussion on Bubble Friday. Thank you.